Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat Podcast on the Serious Angler Network, powered by X2 Power. And guys, today we've got an awesome show lined up, a traditional Business from the Bass Boat show. Really, why I kind of started this podcast in the first place was I'm interested in these startups, these brands in the outdoor space, in the hunting and fishing world. And this is right on cue with that. It's an interesting concept that is something that plagues a lot of tournament anglers, is trying to figure out the sponsor game on what you're going to do. And gosh, it's so much work that we've learned through the podcast and everything else. And it really takes a lot and a lot of learning. And today's show is to really bring on this brand that I've been seeing a little bit of, especially around the NPFL and some of the anglers there. And I'm curious. I just said, hey, let's see if we can get the guy on. But we've got Travis Jewell coming on. He fishes the NPFL. I think he has for the last couple of years. We'll kind of get into that. But he has started a brand, I believe, with a partner called Sponsorless, and super cool logo. See it everywhere, and it just makes you want to click on it because, like, Sponsorless, and in the tournament fishing world, we see so many guys with all their patches, right? Like every sponsor, all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to see the brand name, and I'm curious to hear about it, what they're all doing. So without further ado, let's bring Travis in. What's going on, Travis?
Hey, Adam. I like that intro. That's nice.
Man,
Gets you hyped.
we try. We got some music going. Sometimes got to wake up a little bit.
Gets you in the mood. It's like the music before a bass tournament, right?
Oh man, I think that's my favorite part about bass fishing is it's a boat race in the morning and just that feeling right before takeoff, right? Like it's just like, all right, we're about ready to go.
It's an unexplainable experience. When you try to, like, these people, what do? You go out there and you catch fish and you hold them up on a stage. How's that all work? And like, you do not understand how great of an experience it is, from the adrenaline rush to the mental game. Everything involved is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, you're dead on. And running a bass boat at 70 miles an hour, like it's just, or if it's nasty out, like the rough water, I enjoy that stuff too. It's just all of it.
Same. The rough water actually motivates me. I love going out in that stuff. You're a Western guy. I cut my teeth on Lake Mead, and Lake Mead's about as crazy as it can get out there.
Right. Like you have of the western part of the United States, I'd say you've got like you got cows in the background and everything.
My cows. Sorry about that. I had no idea my cows would be interrupting this meeting.
You're good.
They're tasty, but they can be a little bit loud at times.
Right. And you're down in Texas now, but out west, grew up out west in Utah, right? As far as Western states go. And I mean, you're right. Like as far as the bass fishing world, you've got like Lake Mead, you've got like the Columbia River, and those are two nasty places. And then you have like, you'll have bad days on, don't get me wrong, on like Mojave can get big, and certainly Clear Lake. I've seen Clear Lake absolutely rolling. But it's like, for sure. I mean, any of those desert lakes, like there's just nothing to block the wind. Powell can get really bad. Like, so it's you're right. It's funny because people don't think that. They associate all rough water up to the Northeast, which, don't get me wrong, that's a different level when you have like Great Lakes involved. But man, it can get pretty gnarly out here.
Oh yeah. And I'm grateful for that experience, especially now that I'm heading to, I just got back from Lake Huron a few weeks ago, and I was able to get out and go through that stuff just based upon just like this love of going through the nastiest stuff.
Yeah. You had the confidence to like go run a boat through it. So.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, let's talk first, I guess, fishing. You've got, what's your next event right now on the NPFL schedule? And what does the rest of the year look like here in August?
So coming up in September, we're on our 5th event of the year, which is in Eufaula, Oklahoma. I've never been there, but it's a massive lake, another, middle of the country. It's going to be a new experience on just that time of year is going to be a battle, and, the water clarity and things like that. It's going to be an interesting tournament. I've been on Eufaula, Alabama. I kind of wish I was saying I'm going there because that's a pretty cool lake. But, that's coming up soon. I'm going to get out and get a little pre-practice in and kind of get the lay of the lake and try to get an understanding of what's going on there. And then we wrap the season up for 2023. Well, before that, I'm kicking around the idea. Don't commit me to it, but I might be going to that U.S. Open. I haven't missed one since 2014. So
just had Billy Egan on, man. He's probably like, oh, here we go. Hopefully he tunes into this and is like, you better convince you. Maybe you get a text from him here shortly.
Yeah, well, I love that tournament. I would hate to miss it. So I'm on the fence, and I'm probably going to be there. So hopefully we'll see all the Western guys again soon. But after that, we finish up with the MPFL at Lake Lanier. Looking forward to that tournament. Should fit the Western style, clear water, canyons and lots of arms and fingers and points. I like catching those spots. One of my favorite places is Hartwell out there, and it's a similar lake to that.
So many people, I don't know what it is about in the bass fishing community, something that I've been asking people lately is like, hey, what's your favorite lake? And especially the Western guys, like you're saying. I've got a good buddy, Nate Caldwell, who is he'll be fishing in the what is it? I guess the Bassmaster, not the Federation, but the Bass Nation National there here shortly.
Yeah.
And the last one kind of that's a smaller one. So, and he's made it a bunch of times. So I really hope to see him make it either to the Classic or the Elite Series from there, because he's good at that lake, especially because he's been there so many times with championships. But it is just, everyone says, man, it's my favorite lake. It's my favorite lake in the country.
It's beautiful. It's an awesome tournament lake, because as big as it is, it seems you can navigate it really well. You can get around, you can get to the areas that you want to be. You can kind of fish, there's many different water types you can fish, and there's some big largemouth in there. So it's not just a spotted bass lake. So I love that place too.
Yeah. And they just seem to be aggressive, and you can just like cover water, right? You can just like boom, 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 go to all these cane piles or fish docks. Like there's a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to get back out there.
But on Lanier, when are you guys going to Lanier?
That's going to be right around Halloween. So that's the time of year I really love fishing. So
yeah. Well, that'll be awesome, and you'll have to watch out for Trent Palmer down there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he's on a roll right now. He's just coming out of that really amazing performance up there at Saginaw. It's pretty cool for him, and well deserved.
Yeah, he's a good dude. That was cool to watch him, and then with Patrick Walters out there for sure.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's right there, case in point of some of the cool aspects that a lot of guys, and gals in bass fishing, the nature of just becoming friends with people out there. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, for new people coming into the sport, it was, at least for me, and from a lot of people I hear, it's sometimes a little challenging to kind of network and meet people, because us fishermen, we get really into the zone when we're in the tournament. We go straight to our boat, get our gear ready. We don't look at the competition. We head out going 75 down the lake, and that's an example of just like good buddies, on the water, that are, taking themselves out of the game to serve another person. And, that's a big thing with me and with Sponsorless, my company. What we are aspiring to do is help people just have better ways to make friends out in the great outdoors, rather than that early tournament morning when it's so kind of chaotic.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? Like it's almost in the tournament scene, you kind of just, I guess, find your clique of people, right? Yeah. And then it's kind of like you have your like little clique over here of these guys chatting, and then these guys chatting for the derby. But if you're new, you kind of roll in and you're like, all right, so I mean, I guess I don't like, unless it's a club tournament, hopefully someone comes and says something nice to you or that kind of a thing. But it's something I've noticed too, for sure, and I noticed it more so, Travis, actually, from fishing the Central Toyotas and then the Western Toyotas. I think maybe the West, because it was a smaller, tighter knit group of guys, there was a lot more joking around and that kind of a thing. But when I went to that Central, I was like, man, no one's laughing, no one's having a good time. Like, it was interesting to see the differences.
You can definitely, me coming from the West and fishing all over this country, you can definitely notice there's many different cultures within the bass fishing community, within just the outdoors community in general. And it's geographical. It is what it is. But, I think that one of the biggest things is the dynamic of our sport. Like, people are afraid that you're going to ask them how they're catching them, or, they're like, oh man, that new guy's coming up. He's probably going to, ask me some questions on what they're biting on or whatnot. And it's the nature of us kind of trying to keep what we're doing a little protected. And you roll up to somebody I can't tell you how many times I've rolled up to a competitor in my boat, and I cruise into a cove and I'm like, how's it going? And I'm not meaning, how's the fishing going? I'm meaning, how's it going? How's it going, buddy? Are you, just
how are you doing?
Being cordial. How are you doing? And it's funny because it's interpreted as like, how's the fishing going? And then it kind of gets a little awkward there.
Yeah. Then it's always like, well, I've got a couple, but it's been tough. And it's like, you got a 4, a 6, and a 3 in there. Like, you're doing just
That's exactly it. Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic, but I've made more friends through fishing, and I've made an amazing network, let alone, just from friends, people who would just drop everything to help me out if I had a problem on the road or anything like that, to business connections. I've made so many business connections from the bass fishing community, and I've fished many different organizations, and they're all great. I have, no issues with them, any of them at all. But this NPFL, I've been on it for 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest aspects that I'm really enjoying is just this family type atmosphere. It really is something special that they're building over there.
Yeah, it's just a group. It seems like everyone says that, right? There hasn't been one person that I've interviewed or have seen interviewed that has said, oh, I just, I have issues with, everyone, it's not like anyone really talks about those things a lot in the tournament bass fishing world anyways, if there was issues, but everyone goes above and beyond to talk about how good the culture is within the NPFL, which you don't hear about very often,
Yeah, it is. And it comes down from the ownership and down to just the blue collar nature of it. It was organized during the pandemic, when it really came together. It was a bunch of people that decided, this world's going crazy. I don't know what's next. I'm going to chase my dreams, and I'm going to be a bass fisherman.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened with me when I signed up. It actually provoked me to move from Utah to Texas so I could be more centrally located to all these lakes. And it's a really cool thing when you're like, yeah, I'm finally chasing my dreams. I'm getting my butt kicked, but I'm chasing my dreams.
Dude, I love it. Well, was that a hard thing to convince the family? Because I know you've got a family, you've got the farm, you do a bunch on social media. Was that like a hard deal to convince, or no?
I'm so blessed with my family. It was like, let's go. It wasn't even a question. And we were all ready for a change. We wanted to get out and kind of get out of the bigger city and just kind of free, just live more free. And, so for them, it was like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And we're kind of a more adventurous family anyways. We're able to, adapt pretty quickly. We've lived in Salt Lake City and Chicago and, now in Texas. And so the kids are used to change, and I think it's good for them,
right.
Yeah. I think it's just it builds character when you come to a new place and have a totally different experience and have to meet new people.
Totally. And yeah, like you're saying, especially going from, inner city or suburbs into that rural lifestyle, like that's all good stuff. And I think it just builds you as a person, and you take away positives from both of those building blocks.
For sure. I do miss the West a lot though. That dry heat is a lot better. Being able to cruise on up to the mountains and in my adulthood, I discovered that the bass fishing is pretty incredible, even in little old, Utah, these little reservoirs around where I grew up. I mean, there's some really great smallmouth fishing and great largemouth fishing, and up where you are I love the Idaho fishing game.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's that. I mean, I've talked about this a bunch here lately, but on the like my girlfriend got into PT school at a bunch of different places across the country, and I was choosing like spots. I was like, all right, apply to this one in Vermont. Like it was on Champlain, right? Like I was picking them right as we go, and she got into a bunch, and so it was like, okay, where do we want to be? And it was a hard decision. Do I want to go east? Do I want to stay west? And I work in farm and ranch real estate. So if anyone, by the way, is out there looking to buy farm and ranch real estate, especially in Idaho and any of these Western states, certainly give me a call. But on that, it was like, I really like the Western landscapes. And it was a tough thing because I still want to fish and compete and travel. And so we ended up deciding here. But I'm glad because it has been cool to see some of these fisheries, and I'm excited to explore more of them out here. But I'm still like, I think about that all the time. Like there's places across the country that I want to be. And I think it's cool to be fluid like that. Like you're saying, to be like, hey, I'm going to go chase it. I'm going to be real close to everything. And I want to be in Texas.
Yeah. 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 It's cool to be able to have that mindset where you can just do what you've always, dreamed about. It sounds like you made you got yourself in a position to be in a great career, and you're doing podcasts, and you're living in an area you want to live. And that's exactly what I did. And that's one of the aspects of Sponsorless that's really cool, that is really my true motivator.
Yeah.
I feel extremely blessed for the life I've been given, and all the fun that I have. I try not to take too many days for granted. I try to get out there and get the full experience. And whether it's a success on the water, or whether it's just like, taking a detour and going off a rope swing in the middle of some river in the middle of the country, like just going off and having fun while you're out there. And I want other people to experience it, and that's kind of one of the biggest aspect of Sponsorless, is to motivate people to do the things that they've always had in their heart, do the things they've always dreamed about. Because I think that's, it's a faith thing with me, but I think it is one of my personal purposes on this earth, is to get people to go have fun, go do it.
Yeah, go do it. No, I do. That's awesome, because there's definitely been times where I feel like traveling across the country to go to a tournament or something, and I just, you feel like, okay, work's happening, or you're getting bogged down, and you're like, I just got to get to the tournament and get home. Like that's it, right? But like that, having that mindset, being like, man, I want to have some fun. Look at that rope swing. You're like, there's so many cool parts about tournament fishing and that travel experience, and whether it's tournament fishing or not, but taking that time, like while you're traveling, to go do some fun things outside of just staying on the road
or staying in that phone.
Right.
It's like,
yeah,
like this, there's a lot of amazing things out in the real world, and like slowly but surely that's being taken away from just the consumption of media and like these experiences. And sure, you can share that on your socials and enjoy that using the tech like I do, but it can provoke you to go and do those real life experiences and have some fun with it. So, it's pretty cool. And like I said, I would love to see, more people get an understanding of just like how great this country is, and the freedom to be able to do something as crazy as try to make a career out of catching fish and holding them up on a stage.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I mean, you're dead on as far as people taken for granted. Like you look at the Japanese anglers, for instance, right? Like they're giving up everything to have a chance to fish professionally and travel the country doing it. Like it's such a cool thing that we have. You're right. Like we definitely have to be crazy grateful for the ability to even attempt to making a career at stuff like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, it's a good deal.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how Sponsorless came about. I mean, what's kind of your background? You said, had a career, lived in Chicago, lived in Salt Lake, and then you're like, man, COVID hits, let's move down to Texas. Like, what got you to where you are now, and what are you looking to do with Sponsorless?
Yeah, so I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and my family didn't have a lot of money. We had a great life. Don't get me wrong. We didn't have the extra money to travel around and to buy expensive boats and things like that. So we grew up camping and fishing on the streams, and I had a little creek that would run through our neighborhood where I would literally spend every day of the summer down that creek catching brown trout. And occasionally I would get a bass. And crazy as it sounds, there would be a couple little bass that would come up in there. And, I was so intrigued by, brown trout are kind of similar to bass in the style that they're just more of a predatory trout.
Yeah. When people don't know, like I say, brown trout are wild to me. They can be in a creek that is 1.5 feet wide, and it's like a 28-inch brown. You know what I mean? Eating a mountain. Yeah, like you could flip for them. Like you literally just be like,
yeah,
like
exactly. And they're beautiful. So yeah. So I grew up doing that, and just my mom would drive me around to help me with my newspaper route. I would go ride my bike to do a newspaper route. I learned at an early age to earn the money to pay for the things I want, at a very early age. Like a lot of people out there, got a job early, had great examples of hard blue collar working family. And, just saw this bass fishing thing on TV. I would go to my grandpa's house. I'd tune in. He had satellites, so I'd be able to catch some of the tournaments, stuff like that. And, I just keep my eye on fishing and read all the magazines and dream about one day bass fishing, but totally thought never would be a chance for me, for a Utah boy. Long story short, just took the career route, eventually started a few businesses, and I started a construction company, and that finally got me to a place where, I was starting to get more financially stable, and finally afford that bass boat. It was an old 94 Gambler, and loved that boat, by the way. I wish I could I might end up getting me another one of those soon. But so get the bass boat, start entering some tournaments. And just like we were talking about earlier, it was a grind. It's hard to make friends at first. Didn't know any fishermen. I went straight to the front of the boat and just got my teeth kicked in. But I learned the hard way. And eventually grew the business and moved back and forth between different places, bought a better boat, started entering bigger tournaments. And something I discovered somewhere along those lines is, I got to a place where I was competing in some bigger tournaments, like U.S. Open, for instance. I think I bought my first jersey, my first official professional fisherman's jersey for the U.S. Open specifically. Yeah. And I was like, I've got this motor brand on my boat, so I might as well put it on my arm.
Right. And not getting paid a dime for it, but you're like, here we go.
Like, okay, so I've got those graphs on the front of my boat, so I'm going to put their logo right here. And, I wasn't paid a dime for any of it, but I wanted to look the part, right? I wanted to look like a pro. Right.
Yep.
So I'm just the same as thousands and thousands upon other people out there that do that. And, so started entering those tournaments, but somewhere along the lines, I was like, well, this all needs to make sense to me. So from a business standpoint, what makes sense? So my company was a construction company in the environmental services. We fixed radon gas. We mitigated radon out of houses. It causes cancer, and we did ventilation systems. Well, I put my company logo, just really cool, all the way up and down my at the time it was a awesome Bass Cat era, and just green and black, and just a sweet looking boat, really eye catching. Yeah. And I would help support some of the local tournaments with my company. I would support the big fish, and I would throw hats out. And it was a radon company. It was just a construction company. It had nothing to do with fishing. But I noticed that people started thinking that my company was kind of cool. And these people would be wearing my company logo when I bump into them at the tackle shop or at the store or whatever it is. Wow. And it really clicked with me, just the power of, your personal brand and, capitalizing on the things that you love doing, using it to, help pay and fund for the next thing. and so that taught me a lot of lessons.
Mm.
And that's kind of where it all started when it comes to sponsor lists and this notion of what we're trying to do. So fast forward, we talked about the pandemic and signing up for the National Professional Fishing League, moving to Texas. First year, I continued my boat with my company. I still own my company. I had my company in a national scene, and it actually was beneficial, believe it or not, from a national scene. I started a little Shopify store where I was selling radon test kits, and I was able to appeal more to a national scene and get customers buying all over the place.
Yeah.
A product, and then my service business was back at home.
Yeah.
But then the next year, I finally did it. I finally got the title sponsor, the thing that all fishermen dream about. And it was a good sponsor. Like, they were a cool company. They were great. They were non-endemic. So these guys had no experience whatsoever with fishing other than seeing it on ESPN or whatever else they might have caught it while they're browsing through the TV. But they decided to hear my pitch, and they supported me for the next season.
So how did that go? How did you find this company, especially a non-endemic, right? Like, I think that's something that I've always considered. Like, okay, I feel like, all these brands that we're looking at in the podcast screen, like, they're all endemic brands, and everyone is fighting for those same dollars in the fishing industry, right?
Yeah.
Like, non-endemic money is generally much bigger, but there's some volatility to it too, right? Because you could bring someone in and bring them out, like Walmart, right? Like, there's so many of these big non-endemics that have come into the sport of bass fishing and then left right away too.
Yeah.
So it's like, but generally those paychecks are quite a bit bigger on those contracts. But how did that come about to you? Like, that brand, did you find them and you're like, hey, that's it? Did you know so-and-so with the brand? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, good question. So I was just like many other guys, and gals, where I just was blasting out my fishing resume, my pitch deck that I built, and I felt pretty confident in this. And I was blasting it, and I was getting 100 no's. It was like, they're like, oh, whatever, or ghost. They just straight up ghost you. They're like,
right.
These brands that I was tagging in Instagram, hoping one day they would sponsor me. They don't even respond when I send them a thing saying how much I love their products.
Right.
So anyway, ghosting a million different things, and then it was through LinkedIn or something, and the company that sponsored me, they are in the crypto space.
Yeah.
And it was during the crypto hype, the crypto boom, and so I was like, I like the crypto stuff. I think it's fun and interesting. I delve into it just a little bit, but I was like, well, it's hype right now, and more bass fishermen. It's right in the line of like kind of our mentality of kind of like taking a risk,
gamblers,
a little bit, in a way. So anyways, I reached out to the CEO of this company and just sent him an email, sent him my pitch, and told him why I thought it would be a good idea, and he understood. We got on the phone, and one thing led to another, and they supported me, and so I went through that whole season. I dressed the part. I put the big giant logo on my boat, and I made videos, and I started building my personal brand around their personal brand for a season.
Yep.
And they were great. Again, they weren't in the fishing industry, so they weren't really paying attention to me. They're busy with their business and doing all that stuff. And so the end of that season, I'm so confident that they're going to renew with me that I signed the contract for MPFL again, just out of confidence, knowing that I'm going to commit to this. And I get on the phone with them finally, and they're like, look, you're amazing. You're great. You did a great job for us. We have no complaints, but the market conditions are different. Our customer, target audience is not necessarily your audience, and I'm sorry, but we're not going to renew. And I don't blame them, to be honest. I mean, for a company to prove ROI on a big logo down the side of a boat or on my jersey, like, is difficult. Very
hard. Yeah.
And so So, they just didn't renew, and I have no bad feelings or anything for them. They're a great company, and sorry, my cow will not be quiet. So anyways, great company, but that is a blessing in disguise. Like it seriously is, and everything is, because that's really what provoked me to take action on this idea I've had for many years with sponsorless, and it's really to help the situations like mine. Having a sponsor is amazing and great, and we need them in our industry, and continue to pursue them. But there are so many people that we call it the gap. There's a gap between that time frame of when you're trying to get started, trying to get your feet planted in the space, and before you get to a place where you can actually get somebody who wants to cut you a check for your services. And, so what we are building and what we have built is just an awesome way for people to do things a little bit differently from the brand aspect and from the member aspect. So, the one major thing that we just touched on is the networking and relationships. So, that's one big focus that we're trying to build is looks like we're going to become good friends just from a good conversation like this. And, these types of relationships and understanding us as human beings and not just as goofy social media post or a how to tie a Palomar knot video. Like we're human beings with like really cool stories. So, one of the big aspects that we want to do is just build this massive network of like-minded outdoors people who just want to see the continuation of the sports we love.
Yeah. Like hosting meetup kind of things between both brands and anglers or hunters or whatever your outdoor pursuit is, kind of a thing.
Exactly. So, organizing the events that make it more, more of a casual and fun event where you're meeting the brands and you're demoing the cool new products in person, just like you used to at a trade show, but out in the great outdoors. You're making friends from all walks of life, and you're getting to know them through the communication channels, and then in these real life events, getting together and just acting like your old buddies, and just making it fun. We did our first little meetup, with our members. We did a very early pre-launch, and we had a small meetup a while back, and we just had just a blast. Everybody was so refreshed with just the ability to this cow.
I love it.
Don't have a cow. No, but everybody was just really refreshed with just hanging out casually. We're so used to this tournament scene, and we grilled out in the back of my truck. We sat and took a midday break between fishing, and we weren't fishing for money or a competition. We kind of had like this little like handshake cookie jar deal.
Always.
But it was just fun and refreshing, and over and over again I heard that. So just building more of that across this country and more opportunities, and the brands really like that aspect. So the next big aspect is all these people that don't know what to do. I mean, the number one question I get as a touring bass fisherman is, how do I get sponsors? Whenever these little young kids come up to my boat and talk to me, or I'm talking to a club tournament guy or whatnot, that's a very common question I get. It's not how was the fishing? It's like, how do I get sponsors?
Right.
So, a big aspect of what we're doing is providing education, from understanding how to write that cool pitch deck, understanding how to some of the benefits of structuring a business around your pursuit, some of the benefits of how to market yourself better, how to grow your audience, some of the changes that are coming to our world with AI and all this stuff. It's not going to be long before we don't know if that guy catching a fish is a Nintendo dude or if it's a real person, so it's
right.
We're going into a crazy world. So, education is going to be key in, helping our members navigate the world of whatever their outdoor pursuit is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a huge thing. I mean, the learning side around getting sponsors and all of that, something it's been awesome on the show to have like a Ken Ma breakdown, literally his thoughts on how to get sponsors and that kind of thing, because that stuff is so, like some guys want to hide it. And then some guys, it's really hard. And like hearing how you're talking about literally just sending out hundreds of things and going to LinkedIn and talking to the CEO of a company to get something, like that's just the definition of going and getting it done, right? Like you're just knocking on doors and selling yourself as an angler and what you're doing. The other thing I wanted to touch on, the story that you're saying is like a blessing in disguise for you to then go and pursue and start this brand. Very similar. Interviewed Pete Glusick with the Bass Tank, and it was like 2008, man. And he was talking about he had the best season of his career going down. Like it was like, man, I just won a Toyota, I just won this, and it was just I was on fire. Sponsors were had them all lined up. It was looking really good. Economy took a dump, and everything. It was call after call. Pete, we're slashing you. Pete, we're dropping you to 50%. Boom, boom, boom. And at that point, he was like, I'm done with putting this in the hands of others.
Yeah.
Like, I want to build a business to support this. And as you know, especially on the NPFL, I'm good friends. I high school tournaments growing up with Matt Massey on the NPFL, right? Like owns a plumbing company.
Great guy.
Right. So many of these guys I've always thought through is like really to do this. A lot of it, relies on that ability to own your own business or have some flexibility, or you really have to be on your sponsorship game, because it is such a hard thing to fish tournaments and have a regular career, because it's just, there's, look at how many weeks you're gone in a year and those kinds of things. But there's a trend there. Like you're saying, you've met so many business connections. Same way in the fishing world, I have come across so many people that I've networked with that have become more than just fishing friends, right? Like that just is how it seems to go, because there are people who have built up a way to be able to go fish.
Yeah. And it's great to learn off of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, those people inspire me, those people inspire you, and we all learn from each other, and like, how did you do it? Well, cool. I can do that too.
Right.
And that's one of the greatest things, greatest eye-opening things in life, right? Is when you realize that if somebody else can do it, I can, and that's a big eye-opening thing.
I heard something the other day. It was like everything, I forgot where it was. I don't know which was it was on some podcast, but it's like everything can be copied. Like if it, like from a business standpoint, not saying like you just copy a business, but like if someone else can do something and build something that way, like it is doable. Like it is absolutely doable, and you can go do it. Like, and that's,
and the only thing holding yourself back is you,
right.
Oftentimes. So yeah, it's a cool thing. And so, that's where, the networking and the education and learning from each other all comes into play.
Yeah.
So, and what you were saying is about, it's a sad deal. Like I hear it so many times. I mean, there are some major names out there who are getting dropped. It's like the word, I got dropped by this company. Yeah. And it's frustrating for them. It's hard for them from the financial standpoint. And it's frustrating for their fans, I think, because it kind of muddies the water when somebody's like, this is the best graph in the entire world. Never use any other graph. And I've been using this graph for 10 years. It's the only one that can see a fish from 100 yards to the side of your boat, and yada, yada, yada. And then the next season they're dropped and they're talking about a different graph. It kind of muddies the water there.
Totally. That's it. When there's turnover like that, and I understand it, right? Like you got to do what's right for you and your family, but it's like, you're right. Like you see it too. Like people start to get bitter about like, well, you were with this brand last year. What happened to that one? Like, so I appreciate the honesty when guys are like, look, there's a lot of great products. Like this bait is awesome. Here's why I like it. I understand that there's a million other swim baits that are pretty dang similar to this. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and the companies are important. You know, the companies are why we're able to do this too. You know, and the companies do a great job of supporting the anglers, supporting the industry, and building great products. But there's got to be an easier way. So that's the other aspect of what we're talking about with and what we are delivering with sponsorless.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we are selling lifetime memberships because a lot of this is a building process. So we have our version 1 of our software tool out right now that our users and our members are starting to use right now. And we're teaching people to treat yourself more like a business, you know, your profession, and all the stuff that we've been talking about for the last little bit. Treat yourself more like a business. And we're going to give you more tools over time. We're going to continue to build out tools that you can use to drive the traffic to yourself. We're going to give you opportunities with brands and with companies to earn income from what your performance for them. You know, so if you find a company that's within our brand network, then you're able to promote and talk about their product, and you're able to capitalize on commissions from selling those products. And we give you all the tools and abilities to do that, teach you how to do it, and make it very seamless for you and the brand to work with.
Got it. So it's like a structure there where rather than you having an agreement with the brand that is specific sponsor related agreement, it's like, hey, it's more of a commission based. You're building the network and the tools for the anglers and the brands to connect in that situation.
Exactly.
Whatever aspect.
Exactly. And we're building the tools for you to better promote your own businesses and your own the current sponsorships you have.
Mm-hmm.
So the software and the tooling it helps you deliver. Say you've got an awesome sponsor with a jig company, mm-hmm. and you can integrate their products within your own personal, let's call it a store, your own personal space, your website, and you can help better drive sales to that product through your direct media that you are driving to yourself. Mm. So you can better support the companies. You can give them that ROI that they've always been wanting. You know, those reports that tell how much traffic you drove to their website, how many jigs you sold, how many customers came, your impressions, your click-throughs, all the stuff that is really key metrics that these businesses want. You know, they don't want to hear that you drove 20,000 miles with your logo on their back of their truck with mud all over your truck. You know, they don't want to hear that. They want to see the true data.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. So it's building this network, and then there's right now the thought process is selling lifetime memberships to people who are interested. Now, my question, I'm just going to ask it straight out of the blue, is what happens if sponsorless were to tank tomorrow and people are putting in that lifetime membership fee from the front end?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, the lifetime membership fee isn't breaking the bank. You know, it's you know, we're in our pre-sale phase right now, and it's $1,000 for a lifetime membership. That's $1,000 for a lifetime website and hosting. You know, a website alone, you know, can cost you $500 plus a year in hosting and designing you know, so having that for lifetime is a value. But instantly, right now, our members can capitalize on the brand relationships that we're building. Okay. So you buy your membership, and say you're in the market for a high-end lithium battery. Well, we have partner companies in the lithium space, you know, where you go and buy a battery, you save enough money where you're almost paying for your membership right there, you know. And then our other brand partners, we're just continuing to build that out. So even if we, and we won't, but even if there was no opportunity down the road, you still have you'll still get value out of the money that you invest. Now, shortly, we're going to move off of this lifetime membership phase. Okay. The purpose of this lifetime membership phase is that we are still adding, we're still growing, we're still developing V2, V3 of our software tool. So you're getting massive savings up front by purchasing a lifetime membership, being able to join the community and discussion groups, being able to partake in the opportunities that as they roll out.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saving, over massively over time. The long-term cost is going to be a monthly model, just like you would pay for any other service like this,
Right.
like a website service or a membership to a discount organization and things like that. So the lifetime membership is just a really cool way for us to grow, give our members opportunity to instantly right now earn commission. The second that they join, they have commission opportunities to make money. And then, wait as we roll out the rest of our products, the rest of our deliverables. They have, we're really active communicating with our members, so they know how much we're working hard for them. And we truly are dedicated to this and the overall success of the outdoor industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that it's a different model, right? Like it's not you having to approach this sponsor and that kind of a thing. And then you have the brand discounts on the back end as well. And then how are you guys making money? Like how does sponsor lists get a piece of all of this?
Well, so the membership, the lifetime membership, I mean, that's our income,
Right.
to help build out all the platforms and everything. But that's if you look at it from an aspect of it's a lump sum up front for lifetime benefits, we don't make money over time with that
Right.
as a company. And software as a service companies, they make money over recurring fees, and that's, down the road, we hope that we have thousands upon thousands of members who are using our products and using our software. And then there are, obvious, the company has the relationships with the brands and the connections there that are advertising and marketing opportunities, the meetup events. There's a multitude of ways within our business model where we're going to have success in that arena.
I got you. That makes sense. A couple different ways there. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great way for folks to get involved in something. I think the networking side to me is really cool. Like that's something that I feel like I really enjoy. I enjoy going to the Classic. I enjoy going to ICAST and those kinds of places because of that networking experience. But again, it can be kind of intimidating in those settings. So I think having that ability to make it easy for people to meet and connect prior to that too, like I think that's all a really cool system.
Yeah. And too, like the main focus of the driver for us when we sat down and talked about this business is to like truly to serve others. And we want to see people succeed. Like it motivates me watching others succeed and watching these people have these opportunities. And what better way to have a business? Like I feel blessed that I'm in this space where I have a business that can help other people. And at the end of the day, if this business provides for my family and gives me the opportunity to stay in the outdoor industry and continue to bass fish and meet awesome people while I watch other people be able to do it, maybe hopefully a little easier. I'm not saying it's going to answer all their questions or all their problems, but maybe give them a little bit of an edge up, then that's a win for me.
Yeah, totally. That's cool, man. I think helping people should be the center of most businesses, right? Like that's people have a need to fix and you're fixing that need and you're helping people do what they want to do and follow their dreams, which is full in the outdoor industry, right? Like the majority of people who are looking for brand deals and those kinds of things, they're doing it because they're pursuing a dream, chasing something to be able to live that lifestyle that they want to. And it's a very hard thing to do without sponsors or without stuff in there. And so, man, I think it's an awesome deal you've got going on. And what's in store in the future here? What can people be looking forward to kind of going through the end of this year and into 2024?
Yeah. So with sponsorless, be on the lookout for right now. You can go on, you can become a lifetime member. you can reach out to any of us directly, and we can even schedule a one-on-one conversation to learn more about it.
Cool.
Right now, in the early phases, we have a more easy way to be able to directly communicate with the prospective members. So this year, be on the lookout for our version 2 of our software, our content management software. Right now, our members have a really cool profile that we built that's our native software, where they can start funneling all their web traffic to themselves, and then distribute links to their various sponsors or their partners or their own companies, or anywhere they want it to go. So that version 1 is what's available right now. But later on this year, we're going to have a really great content management software where you can drag and drop, and you can build your own custom website, and really catered towards the outdoor industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear. And
excited,
man, you're just rocking and rolling here. So we started in 2023, and so I've seen, I mean, as far as the swag that you guys have, like that hat is sweet. The boat, the wrapped sponsorless boats just look awesome. Like there's just some really cool stuff going on. So what anglers do you have involved with sponsorless as a brand right now?
So I have a business partner who is an avid outdoorsman, hunter. He grew up bass fishing in Arizona in some smaller tournaments and things like that. So he's the software. He's the brains behind the software, and he's just a great human. He's just so fired up about this, and so he is not on the professional or the competitive fishing pursuits, but he's dreamt about having an outdoor brand or an outdoor presence. So that hunting side is even one of the greater aspects of what we're doing as well. But from a professional fishing standpoint, many people have seen Sheldon and his boat out there. Sheldon's hard to miss because he's always on camera, because he's such a good angler,
Yeah.
So, he's got a really cool story of just growing up and wanting to be a professional fisherman, homeschooling. Like his entire story is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was early this year. I kept noticing, and I didn't know Sheldon extremely well. I mean, we were friends. We can cross paths in tournaments, say hi, but we weren't like talking on the phone all the time. But I noticed on his socials that he was saying, "Oh, I can't sign up for the MPFL, or this year, I can't. It's gonna be the first year I haven't been able to compete on a national scale." And this is during the early phases of the putting sponsorless together and this business, and this was during like all the crazy brainstorming sessions and all that fun stuff when you're starting a company.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, and I called him up, and I'm like, "Hey, let's talk, because you are the prime example of what happens to many people. People can say Travis didn't get sponsors because he's not up there at the podium all the time. Like, legitimately, I've had some success, but I'm definitely not one of the top anglers out there. And people might be able to say, "Hey, he can't get sponsors because of his performance or whatever." And sure, I'll give you that. But look at Sheldon, who is one of the best fishermen I know, and many people know. And he even struggled, and time again, there are people like that. So I just saw it as an opportunity to get him in the league where he deserves to be, and help him, have an awesome year, which he has. And then also, it's a perfect use case. It's a perfect example of what's going on out here. So, I just think that it was just the time was right. It was crazy that I saw that post in that very moment, and he's been just a great person to work with.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, that's good to see, and good on you for seeing that opportunity and making it work for him, but also saying, "Look, this is really beneficial to my brand because it's the perfect guy for what we're looking to do and provide." Because you're right. It's so crazy to me hearing stories and having conversations with anglers in the industry. It's like, man, this guy's so good, and he is struggling to make things meet and that kind of thing. And it's like, there's so much to it, right? Like there's the benefits the brands have from the social media aspect and the YouTube aspect, but then it's like there's still, I understand it's not the old days where it was like, man, you could just show up and so was so good that he had all the sponsors. But there is a benefit to those guys who perform, right? Like when those products are showcased, when a guy wins on such and such bait, like that crap moves. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
the way it is. And so it is it's a balancing act. And man, I have always thought it would be, there needs to be some reform in the industry to make it that way. But at the end of the day, we're still in this space of where we are paying to play in tournament fishing, right? Like we're paying entry fees and it's our money going in and our money going out. And yes, a little bit on top, but it's at the highest levels, but that's what it is. And so you have to have these brands and have to have this backing because and you have to build your personal brand to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think, and that's one of my pie in the sky visions and extreme dreams with sponsorless is that eventually we help bring back $1 million bass tournaments. We help bring in more brands that want to commit to the sport and commit to the industry because they can prove ROI and they can really make it work. So, man, we've got the whole farm going. I hope that tractor isn't too loud in the background.
I love it, dude. We're going to have so many nice replays or reels to make out of this one. Cows, like it's going to be great. Just Travis on the farm.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. So for folks who are interested in following along with Sponsorless and looking at signing up, want to learn more about it, you said, willing to message you or other folks within your company, just give the website, Instagram, Facebook, where can you guys be found?
So you can find us at sponsorless.com. And you'll be able to find all of our social medias from there. You can find me and my information and on sponsorless.com/Travis.
Okay.
And you'll be able to find my link stack there with that will take you to Sponsorless. It will take you to a couple of my other ventures, and it'll also take you to any one of my social media sites if you want to find any one of those. So go to that to learn more about me, and you'll be able to find your way to Sponsorless through there. And find me on social media. I have some fun time making some kind of goofy videos, kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff. So check those out.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome stuff. I mean, check all that stuff out, folks. If you're interested, we'll post the links to Sponsorless website in our show descriptions. But man, the last question I like to ask everybody on the show, if your personal best, largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, where you were when you caught them and what you caught them on.
Oh, so my personal best, I haven't broke 10. This old boy from Utah moved to Texas and finally I didn't weigh it on a official scale or anything, just a little Rapala scale, but it was a 998. It was close. Oh. And my daughter netted it for me. Cool. So and it was over here at a local lake, public lake, Lake Tyler. Yeah. And I caught that fish, sight fishing, of course. It's kind of an easy way to catch it, but it was a bunch of guys overlooked it, and it was a good fish, and it was a fun one. I had a 12 on, and I know it was significantly over 10 a few weeks ago, but it came off. But yeah, that was on a glide bait. Biggest smallmouth, I got a cool story about this. So I was up practicing for Saginaw, not this past one a few weeks ago, but the year before. Yeah. And it was probably, I couldn't weigh it, and I'll tell you why I couldn't weigh it. I think it was pushing 7. So I catch this fish. There's one of my competitor anglers practicing around the corner from me. So I got this fish on, and I put my rod kind of down by my leg so he can't see me fighting this fish.
Oh, the old trick.
He was about to get on his trolling motor and come towards me. So I'm reeling it in, and I get it in, and I sit down in my driver's seat, and I pretend like I'm talking on my phone. He gets over, and he starts talking to me, and I'm holding this giant fish over the side of my boat by the lip. And we sit and have like a 20-minute conversation. I'm waiting for him to get out of there. I'm like, I didn't want him to know I had just caught this fish right there. And I'm holding this giant over the side of my boat. And eventually he just wouldn't go away, and I let go of it. I couldn't even weigh it or take a picture of it or anything.
Oh my gosh. You're a tournament angler through and through, man. I do the same thing. It's like open a rod locker, turn around, and then like it's 4-pounder, like tail walking behind you, and you're like, crap. Like,
oh man. Yeah, I told him about that later on. He's actually a sponsorless member now, believe it or not. We were on the phone a while ago, and I was telling him that story. He's like, no way. He's like, he remembers talking to me then, but he's like, no way.
He had no idea.
Yeah, no idea. And I caught that fish on a, I can't remember what I caught it on. I think it was probably a hair jig. I like throwing that old hair jig.
Throwing the hair. I like it. Yeah. Okay. And what about spotted bass?
Spotted bass, biggest spotted bass. Oh man, I would
You're
say
about to break it in Lanier in October, I bet.
Yeah, and Lanier is going to be amazing. I caught some big spotted bass. I don't know what my biggest spotted bass is. Over in Shasta, I've caught some pushing 5.
That's awesome.
But I wouldn't be able to tell you my biggest spotted bass. Again, I've only been doing this. I'm 43. I've only been doing this since I was 30. And, touring this country, I've never weighed a big, giant spotted bass on stage.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, well, very few people have, man. I would say the vast majority of people on the show come on, they're like, my biggest spot's like, I don't know, maybe 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not like you have the California giant spots. Like anyone from California have on, it's always like some ridiculous number because they've had time on some of those big ones. Or you have like the Trent Palmers or guys down in that region. Like there's some 5 and 6 pound spots, right? But it's just like there's a lot of places in the country where there's just not spots, or they're just a 12-inch, 13-inch keeper fish. And if you catch a 3-pounder, you're like, holy cow, this is a giant spot.
Oh, and they're so beautiful. And they're so fun to catch. They're mean little suckers. The Shasta one, the big one I remember catching at Shasta was on a jerk bait, and I just love catching them on jerk baits. And that was before the live scope days too. So live scopes completely changed that game on catching spots on suspended out there.
For sure.
So just I cannot wait for that Lanier event. This we've got a little lake down by me here, chuck full of spots, but they're all like a big one is like 1.5 pounds here in Texas.
Right.
And there's millions of them. They actually in the Thursday nighters they have what they call it Kentucky Derby, where it's like
for Kentucky spotted bass.
Yeah, the smallest bag. You see these guys all the way in with these little tiny spots. It's hilarious.
No way. So like it's like you have your bass tournament going on, and then you also have like the smallest spots, or are they just fishing for the smallest spots?
Yeah, it's a side pot. So I'm trying to remember. I think it's 3 fish. It's
That's
3
great.
fish. One has to be over 20, or else you can't weigh 3 of largemouth. And then there's always a side pot of 5 Kentuckys, and they're all these little babies. So it's pretty funny.
Dude, that gives me. I had a turn. We have probably the biggest tournament in Colorado from a number standpoint that's allowed, and it's always capped because there's always too many people that sign up. But it's a night tournament actually on Horsetooth Reservoir, and in Fort Collins, and it's a smallie place. There's only smallmouth in there. Actually, it's not true. There's a couple of largemouth, but very few. And there was like I was in high school, and there's we had a small limit, and I knew it was going to be like a decent bag at the weigh-in, right? Like I'm seeing guys go in, but I had a really baby squeaker that was just 12 inches and super skinny, right? And they had a smallest fish trophy, and it also, by the way, paid $500. And so I was like, man, no pride here. We dumped those 4 and we weighed that sucker in and we won small fish.
I think it's fun, those little intricacies, those little fun things that the people do. I just saw something online recently with the catfish guys. They have like these horizontal tubes, and at the end of the tournament, they'll put like a catfish in each tube, and they'll do like a turtle race for money.
No way.
So they like, what's that now?
With the catfish, like it's like a race.
Yeah, it's like a clear tube, like a 6-inch PVC clear tube. Yeah. And they put these catfish in, and they release them, and whatever catfish swims to the end is the winner, like a turtle race. It's hilarious, and it's genius.
Awesome. That is genius.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, Travis, dude, thanks for taking the time out. Man, man, and to talk about your brand and yourself a little bit. It was fun to connect and hear everything that you've got going. And man, good luck on Eufaula. That's a lake of all places that it gets big too. So you'll be right in your element on those days if it gets nasty out there.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, thanks for having me on. I just look forward to just making some big changes, big waves. Speaking of waves in the outdoor industry and helping a lot of people out. Go on. You can get our swag right now and rock it. That's on sponsorless.com. And we just appreciate having this platform so that we can help other people build their platform.
Awesome. Great to hear it. And man, with that, we will wrap things up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.